April 15th in history. In 1452, in the hilltop town of Vinci, Tuscany, a child was born who would reshape human understanding of art, science, and nature. Leonardo da Vinci grew obsessed with everything, dissecting bodies, sketching flying machines, and painting masterworks like the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. For 5 centuries later, Leonardo's notebooks still inspire engineers, artists, and scientists, proof that boundless curiosity can echo across all of human history. In 1707, Basel, Switzerland was a hub of Enlightenment scholarship. A child named Leonhard Euler was born into a world hungry for mathematical discovery. Euler revolutionized mathematics, introducing the symbols pi, e, and I, and producing over 800 works spanning calculus, graph theory, and mechanics. Euler's notation and theorems underpin every field of modern science and engineering. His legacy lives in every equation written today. In 1755, London was the heart of the English-speaking world. A brilliant but struggling writer named Samuel Johnson had spent 9 grueling years on an impossible task. Johnson and 6 assistants published 42,773 word entries, each illustrated with literary quotations. The landmark dictionary defined the English language in one monumental volume. Johnson's dictionary dominated English lexicography for over a century, shaping how the language was standardized worldwide. Its influence echoes in every dictionary printed since. In 1861, America stood at a breaking point. Confederate forces had just seized Fort Sumter, South Carolina, firing the first shots of Civil War. On April 15th, President Lincoln issued a proclamation calling for 75,000 militia volunteers, declaring an insurrection and summoning the nation to war. Lincoln's call forced border states to choose sides and ignited a 4-year war that ultimately ended slavery and reshaped American democracy forever. In 1865, the Civil War was ending. President Abraham Lincoln attended a celebratory play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., the nation cautiously hopeful. Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth entered Lincoln's box and fired a single shot. Lincoln was carried unconscious to a boarding house across the street, where he died at 7:22 a.m. Lincoln's death ended the era of lenient Reconstruction he had envisioned. The nation mourned, and his legacy as liberator and unifier only deepened with time. In 1912, the RMS Titanic set sail on her maiden voyage, a floating palace deemed unsinkable, carrying over 2,200 souls across the North Atlantic. At 11:40 p.m. on April 14th, Titanic struck an iceberg. By 2:20 a.m., she was gone. Over 1,500 people lost to the freezing Atlantic. The disaster shocked the world. Maritime law was rewritten, enough lifeboats for all, and a 24-hour radio watch became mandatory on every ocean vessel. In 1941, Belfast stood as Britain's shipbuilding heart, vital to the war effort, yet shielded by only a handful of anti-aircraft guns. On Easter Tuesday night, German Luftwaffe bombers unleashed waves of incendiaries and high explosives, killing nearly 900 civilians and leveling the harbor district in hours. The rage shocked Britain into reinforcing Northern Ireland's defenses overnight. Belfast's sacrifice reshaped Allied strategy and is remembered as the island's darkest wartime night. In 1945, World War II neared its end in Europe. Northern Germany remained under Nazi control, hiding unimaginable horrors behind barbed wire. On April 15th, British soldiers entered Bergen-Belsen. They found 60,000 survivors and 13,000 unburied dead, a scale of suffering that defied comprehension. BBC broadcasts shocked the world, forcing humanity to confront the Holocaust's full horror. Bergen-Belsen became a permanent symbol of where hatred and silence lead. In 1947, America's pastime was strictly segregated. Brooklyn, New York buzzed with tension as opening day arrived at Ebbets Field. On April 15th, Jackie Robinson stepped onto the diamond in a Dodgers uniform, breaking Major League Baseball's color barrier for the first time in the modern era. Robinson won Rookie of the Year and later the MVP award. His courage on the field helped accelerate the civil rights movement across all of American society. In 1961, Cold War tensions reached a boiling point. Cuba, newly under Fidel Castro, had aligned with the Soviet Union, alarming Washington just 90 miles away. 8 CIA-supplied B-26 bombers, flown by Cuban exile pilots, struck 3 Cuban airfields at dawn, but Cuba's Air Force survived, dooming the invasion before it began. The failed strikes let Cuba's planes destroy the invasion fleet, The Bay of Pigs became America's most humiliating Cold War defeat, strengthening Castro's grip for decades. In 1989, tens of thousands of football fans gathered at Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield for an FA Cup semi-final, a routine spring afternoon that would become a national tragedy. Overcrowding in the Leppings Lane end caused a deadly crush. 97 supporters were killed, hundreds injured as police failed to act and later falsified their accounts. After decades of cover-up, a 2016 inquest ruled the deaths unlawful killing. Hillsborough transformed British policing, stadium safety, and the fight for public accountability. In 1994, trade between nations was governed by outdated rules. After 8 exhausting years of negotiation, 123 countries gathered in Marrakesh, Morocco. On April 15, representatives signed the Marrakesh Agreement, replacing GATT and creating the World Trade Organization, a new global body to govern trade in goods, services, and ideas. The WTO became the backbone of modern global commerce, setting rules for billions of people. Its creation remains the most sweeping reform of international trade since World War II. In 2019, the beloved Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris, an 850-year-old Gothic masterpiece, suddenly burst into flames on an April evening. Fire erupted in the attic, engulfing the medieval oak roof. The cathedral's soaring 19th-century spire collapsed dramatically as millions watched live worldwide. The disaster united the world in grief, raising over €1 billion for restoration. Notre Dame reopened in 2024, reborn as a symbol of resilience.